This video is to introduce you to how to use the TI-84 graphing calculator. The TI-83 works the same way. So I'm going to be referring to this document on the left as well as my calculator on the right. The first thing you want to do is orient yourself to where certain keys are on the calculator. I've listed here in this document some important keys: y equals, window, graph, xt theta, that's your variable that you're going to be entering, as well as table, table set, and quit. And just so you know where they're at, is mostly in the top row. That's where everything related to creating graphs and tables exists. Your variable is right here, and quit, which if you're in a graph or you're in a table and you just want to get back to a regular calculator screen, that's where quit is. So I'll be using those, and when I actually use it on the calculator over here on the right, every time I press something it will show up in red. So right now you can see that the last button I pressed here was on. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is check and make sure that our window is set correctly. The window basically sets the size of the axes on which you're going to view your graphs. And the standard window is -10 to 10 on the x-axis and 10 to 10 on the y-axis. So to check that, I'm going to press window on my calculator over here. Now when I pressed window, I see that my x-min and x-max, that's not -10 and 10. The y is okay, but the x values aren't okay. So if you look over here, it says that a shortcut to set a standard window is to press the zoom button and then press 6 for standard. So let me do that. Zoom is right next to window. So there's zoom. You'll see that a menu has come up. I'm going to arrow down here to select number 6. Then I'm going to press enter. And it changed to the graph. And if you counted how many little hash marks there were here, you would get 10 to the left and 10 to the right. And just to quickly check that, I'm going to go into window here. And notice that it's now set -10 to 10. So the first thing that I want to do now is create a graph. The first thing I want to do is create a graph of y equals -2x minus 1, and then sketch it on my paper. So if you remember, y equals -2x minus 1 is going to be a straight line because it's in the form y equals mx plus b. So to get that, I'm going to go in here to y equals. That's where you put in your equation. Now I have to be careful because in this I've got a -2x and a minus, and those are different buttons on your calculator. So the negative button is down here next to the 0. Now I'm going to press 2x, and then the minus button is over here on the right side, -1. And you'll notice when you look on the screen, the negative here is much smaller than the minus. And if you ever get an error that says syntax error, it's usually because you've used an incorrect negative or minus. The other thing you want to check on is up here where it says plot 1, plot 2, and plot 3. None of those should be highlighted. If those are highlighted, you may end up getting an error. It's because your calculator is looking elsewhere to plot things. If for some reason those are highlighted, you want to use your arrow button to go up there, blink on the thing that's highlighted, and press enter, and then move down. Now you'll notice that I just turned that on, highlighted that, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to turn it back off because I don't want any of those plots highlighted. If I have that, I'm going to be in trouble. It's going to give me an error likely. So now to see a graph, I follow my instincts and I push the button that says graph. and you'll see a line come across. And you'll notice that the y-intercept is -1, and my slope is -2/1, which means I go down 2 and over 1. So down 2 over 1, that's why I roughly get a line in that direction. It looks much better on the calculator. So there's your first graph. Now let's take a look at example 2. Now example 2 is one in which we've got a fraction in our equation. So first, our standard window is still set. If you're not sure, you can go back into window and see -10 to 10. Now I'm going to enter -1/2 x plus 12. So to enter the equation, I go to the y equals screen. I'm going to press clear in order to clear out what I had before. And when I enter -1/2 x plus 12, I need to make sure that my fraction is in parentheses. So I'm going to do parentheses. This is the negative key, 1 divided by 2. That's how you enter your fractions. X plus 12. And then I'm going to press graph. And I just barely see something in the corner. So I see something that looks sort of like that. And if you look at your equation and you ask yourself, why isn't anything showing up? It's because the y-intercept is 12, but my standard window is only 10. So this thing is actually coming up here and actually hitting over here at 12. And then I also can't see where it hits over here because my slope is -1/2, so it's going down 1 and over 2, down 1 and over 2, etc. So if I want to change my window so I can actually see where it crosses both axes, then I need to figure out where that is. Well, we know that the y-intercept is 0, 12, because we can see that in y equals mx plus b. If you want to know where the x-intercept is, you want to remember that you make y equal to 0. And if I do that in the equation, and I solve, I have 1/2 x equals 12, or x equals 24. So my x-intercept is 24, 0. So if I want to see these points, I need to make sure that my x and y values in my window are set correctly. So I'm going to go in here to window, and an x value of -10 is okay, but I need it to go up to an x value of 24. So I'm going to arrow down here to x maximum, and I want it to be beyond 24. So you could pick 25, you could pick 30. I guess I'll pick 30. And then the x scale, that's how often you want a little hash mark. So between -10 and 30, I don't necessarily need a hash mark every 1 unit. Let's make it say every 2 units is probably fine. Then in the y direction, a y min of -10 is okay, but I need my y max to be up here at least 12. So I'm going to go a little bit higher than that. I'm going to make that, say, 20. And I'll also make my hash marks, instead of every 1 unit, I'll make those every 2 units. Okay, so now I'm going to press graph. And I'm going to sketch what I see. So now you can see I've kind of zoomed out on my graph. This y-intercept up here is 12. And if I actually count it, I told you that in the settings I was setting these marks to be every 2 units. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, or 22, 24. So there's 12 on the y-axis and 24 on the x-axis. So it looks a little bit more accurate when I roughly sketch my graph like that. Put a 12 there and a 24 there. So that's a problem where we had to change our window. Now the last part of creating graphs I'm going to look at is how to get two equations in the same window. So first, the directions here say to reset the window to a standard window. So to shortcut to that again is to press Zoom and then select 6. You can either do that by pressing the number 6 or by using the arrow button. I'm just going to press the number 6, and there you can see the line that we had before. Now I want to go in here to the y equals screen, and I'm going to clear out what I had before, and this time I'm going to enter one equation is x minus 2, which you might recognize also as being in the form mx plus b. So that's going to be a line with a y-intercept of -2 and a slope of 1. And then the second graph I'm going to get is x squared minus 4. So I'm going to use the arrow key to go down in here into y2, and I'm going to type in x. The squared button is over here kind of diagonally from the 7. There's x squared, and then minus 4. So now I have two equations, and depending on what you remember from algebra, you might remember that x squared graphs are u-shapes or they're parabolas. So I'm going to press graph. I get the line and the parabola. So I'm just going to quickly sketch this in here. It's not really pretty, but there's the line, there's the parabola. The question is at how many points do the graphs intersect? Well, it turns out they intersect in 2 places. This one right here appears to be right on the x-axis at 2, 0. It's a little bit tough to read this one.